You're in a calm living room, and your chest jumps when the child on the floor slips out of your sight for half a second behind the coffee table. The room is quiet except for toys clicking softly and the hum of the house. You look back immediately. Then again, a pulse of worry hits before any evidence does. You need to confirm where that small body is, and the first glance does not feel like enough. You treat that urge as a private glitch, an anxious habit, a modern kind of overthinking that should not exist in a safe room. The child is still there. You still do not feel finished. It is not random, and it was not made for quiet rooms. It comes from an older pressure, when small vulnerable kin could disappear, be injured, wander, drown, fall, freeze, starve, and die fast the moment attention broke. What survived was constant caregiver attention, a way of keeping children mentally in front, even during ordinary moments. And that old solution still takes something from you now. It still demands repeated checking, and breaks the feeling of calm long after the danger has dropped. One missed second could matter more than an hour of peace. Under that kind of pressure, attention itself became part of protection. The child had to stay active in the mind, not only when crying or running, but in the quiet stretches too. That inheritance is 300,000 years old. It is not a rare trait and not a personal defect. It sits close to the center of being human, because nearly everyone alive descends from adults whose attention returned to the small body nearby. That is why the feeling is so hard to dismiss. You are not inventing it. You are meeting something older than the room around you. You look once, and the urge does not settle. 300,000 years answers that small recoil in your chest. Something built for danger does not know what to do with safety. Now put yourself somewhere else. You are rinsing a plate at the kitchen sink while a child is in the next room, close enough to hear, until the sound suddenly stops. Your hands pause. Your body goes still before any thought is complete. You listen harder. The silence grows weight. Then you move to check. That reaction is alive, not buried. It is still doing the same job it was shaped to do, treating interruption, distance, and sudden quiet as signals that attention may need to turn back fast. Not because the modern room is full of ancient danger in the same way, because the response was built to move before certainty arrives, and it still does. This is why calm can feel provisional around a nearby child. Routine does not fully switch the system off. A door, a pause, one broken thread of sound, and the body leans toward verification again. You feel the pull before you form a reason. The child is nearby, and your mind refuses to leave that fact unattended. The silence lands in your chest. Then the check follows. Somewhere behind that reflex is the older world that taught human attention to fear a child gone unwitnessed. Out there, a child could be lost in ordinary space. Not far away, just beyond sight, brush higher than the child's head, uneven ground, cold water at the edge of camp, a fire that burned low while adults worked with their hands on meat, tools, hides, and embers. Human young were slow, fragile, and dependent for years. They could not track danger well, could not pull themselves back from every drop, and could disappear in the span of one distracted task. So protection had to live inside attention. Nearby adults kept children marked as urgent even in calm stretches, when nothing seemed to be happening. A small movement at the edge of vision mattered. So did sudden silence. So did distance opening by a few steps. The adult, who turned fast, closed the gap between danger and response. The one who did not might arrive after the fall, after the water, after the cold, after the child had wandered beyond reach of the group. That is why the response was worth its cost in that world. Quiet was not proof. Stillness was not proof. A child safe one moment could be gone the next, and the adults whose attention kept returning were the adults more likely to keep that child alive. You still carry that rule now. Your eyes return before you decide to send them. Your chest tightens first. Then comes the check. Human childhood stays long and dependent, and attention became part of how our kind protected it. At the grocery store, the child is beside the cart while you reach for a box on the top shelf. A hanging sign swings. For one instant, it cuts the small body in half. Your hand stops in the air. Attention leaves the label, the price, the task. It locks onto one thing only: Child location verification. You look down. Then, back to the shelf. Then, down again, within seconds, because the first check drains the jolt, but does not finish it. The cart keeps moving. Your focus does not. A simple errand gets split into fragments, and the child beside you keeps pulling priority away from everything else. Later, the child is asleep in the next room. The house is finally still. Then the stillness changes. No cough, no turn in the sheets, no small sound through the door. Your body enters alert stillness before you have a reason for it. You get up and go in. You check breathing, position, presence. Relief comes fast. It also fades fast. Minutes later, another stretch of quiet can do it again. Rest becomes conditional. Calm has terms attached. And it keeps happening because the old pressure recognizes modern echoes everywhere. Store aisles break sight lines. Car seats face backward. Bedroom doors close. Bathroom doors close. Playground equipment hides small bodies for a beat too long. Each tiny gap asks for another confirmation, and every confirmation spends a little more attention, a little more energy, a little more of the ordinary ease the moment should have had. You feel it in your shoulders first, then in the held breath you did not notice until the child is back in view. The relief is real and brief. The body can settle in seconds after a false alarm, and then get pulled up again just as fast. You are buckling a child into a car seat in a parking lot, and even with your hand on the strap, you check the space around the small body twice. Not because you forgot. Because the trigger is no longer a wild edge of camp. It is uncertainty itself around a dependent child. Partial sight. A closed door. A blocked line of hearing. A few seconds of missing confirmation. The world now produces those signals all day long. That is the answer to the mismatch. Safety changed. The cues did not. The old system was never built to measure probability with care. It was built to treat a nearby child as a standing priority and to interrupt you the moment certainty thins out. So knowing the room is safe does not cancel the reaction, because the reaction begins before reason finishes naming the room. You try anyway. You tell yourself the child is asleep. You just checked. The monitor is on. The gate is latched. In the supermarket, you keep your eyes on the list and force yourself not to look down again. The strain gets worse, not better. The unfinished check keeps hanging there. A responsible mind should be able to ignore it. It usually cannot for long. And you cannot remove the trigger from ordinary life, because ordinary life is made of interruptions in contact. Walls. Corners. Blankets. Bathwater. Back seats. Other shoppers. Every one of them creates the same old opening where harm once entered, and the response keeps rushing to close it. You feel that failure of control in the jaw, in the fixed listening, in the body waiting for one more confirming sign. Human children stay dependent for years, and that long dependence gives the signal time to keep winning. At a playground, the child moves behind the plastic wall of a climbing structure for less than a second. You hear other children. Shoes on wood chips. A gate clanging somewhere behind you. But not that one small body. Your eyes snap to the gap, then to the far side, then to the opening again. The check comes so fast it feels like one motion. And by now the pattern is complete. A blocked view. A brief silence. A closed door. Sleep in the next room. The mind keeps promoting the same message above every other task. Verify again. That is the full price. A child nearby is given special emergency status inside your attention, even when no emergency exists. So concentration breaks in the middle of errands. Quiet starts to feel suspicious. Rest stops being full rest. The mind runs danger simulations on thin evidence and asks the body to pay for them, as if rescue might be seconds away. The older protection that once cut the time between threat and response now keeps generating unfinished alarms inside protected spaces. Modern exhaustion can sharpen it. General anxiety can sharpen it. But the burden has a deeper root than either one. Years. That is how long human children remain dependent. Again and again, your attention is pulled back to the same duty. No single check settles it for long, and for many adults, anxiety itself is common. Around 30% will meet criteria for an anxiety disorder at some point across life. Care demands do not create all of that. They do give one ancient channel a constant stream of triggers. You feel the cost when a room goes quiet and your body rises before your thoughts do, already listening for breathing, already bracing for the sight that is almost never there. Attention is no longer fully free once a vulnerable child is near, and the next small absence is enough to prove it, years. That is the span human children remain dependent, and the burden tracks that span. Not a burst, a standing condition. One quiet room, one closed door, one blind corner, one stretch of missing sound. The trigger does not need crisis. It needs uncertainty around a small body under your care, 300,000 years. That is how long this vigilance has had to matter in our lineage.